Hello and welcome to Monday Marks, a visual art blog about play, practice, and process. My name is Sharon Silicone, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about two different concepts, obstruction and disruption. When we think about obstruction, it's something that is in the way, a blockage, something that is keeping you from moving forward. Whereas a disruption could really be about a disturbance that breaks the unexpected order or continuity or flow of something. And when you're thinking about your own practice, we often think about being in the flow or flowing from one thing to another. So today we're going to look at how disruptions can be subtle, gradual, jarring, or how obstructions can kind of break things. How obstruction could be a block, a physical barrier. It could also be a limitation or something emotional for you. So we're going to just explore those ideas in a work of art.
So to begin with, I'm using some stencils, and I love using stencils with a really soft makeup sponge to push through. This is creating a repeated pattern, something that people easily can read as a pattern. Everybody knows the alphabet, and I kept the alphabet in order. I did block off some of the areas so that I could disrupt the pattern with a different pattern, and that pattern was much smaller. For this next step, I'm using some stencils that I cut out of a Bristol board. It's fairly thin, but what's really nice is I'm able to block off some areas that I want to keep white and start painting the background. I am using a glaze with my Heavy Body Acrylics so that you can still see the patterns underneath and you can see the areas that I blocked out. Next, all of these were about white trefoils, and so I was going in with some blue to block in some of the underlayer of color in the shadow that I want in those. And then I went in and I started working in with collage, and this is my favorite part of any of my processes. So bringing in some darks, some lights, and some of this collage is very opaque and some of it is very translucent. So you can see through some of the areas, but I'm also blocking or obstructing some of the areas as well so that you can't see some of the things underneath. But in other areas, that pattern is still coming through. But as you read it, you can see both. Next, I'm going in with some paints and just defining some of the darks, the lights, the shadows, so that adding in some colors into the whites so that it's not just white, because of course shadows have color to them just like everything else does. So I'm just going in and kind of adjusting, and one of the biggest problems that I have is with values. So I always try to check my values and see where I need to adjust most, and that can be done so easily just with your camera and black and white photo. But now I'm also going in and I'm also readjusting some of the petals. I didn't like some of the areas of the composition and some of the spaces in between things. So I'm just going in and starting to add that on top. And color, of course, is some of my favorite. What is exciting about this concept of obstruction and disruption is the layers, how you can start to see things through. As you look at the work really closely, you can see all the layers.
Sometimes the very thing that feels like a block is actually pointing to the next steps in your own artwork or your own practice or your artistic journey. An obstruction or disruption are just problems that need to be solved or fixed, and that is part of creativity, having something to respond to and problem solving through that little creative block or something that is happening in your artwork. It can really open new creative doors, and it'll help you think about how sometimes the things that you've been avoiding can really propel you forward. I want to leave you with a question to think about in your own practice. What do you feel right now is blocking you in your current process or practice? What could you intentionally disrupt to find new meaning? And lastly, can a disruption become a point of clarity for you and your work? Think about those things as you work through, when you hit obstacles, when you have a little obstruction that you have to move around, or when something is disrupting your flow or movement in your art. If you find value in anything that you saw today, I hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel, or if you want to keep getting more in your inbox, I have a bi-weekly newsletter called Make Your Mark Monday, and it's all about giving you prompts, creative art strategies, helping you think in terms of reflection about your own art process. So I hope you'll join me. All the information and materials I used today are right below this video. So bye for now.